Good afternoon. Thank you guys for being here today and serving and being part of the Academic Service Committee for the St. Joseph School District. If you guys are good, I love people, and what I would love to do is go around and just introduce who we are and what capacity we're serving on the committee. So I'll start with myself. I'm Stacia Studer. I'm Assistant Superintendent of Academics for the St. Joseph School District.
This way, Tom Richmond. I'm a appointed school board member.
Michael Evans, work with Altec, and I'm here to represent the community.
I'm Saunderville. I work at Mosaic as a psychiatric practitioner.
I'm Tamara Wagner with Mosaic. Oh,
Sorry.
sorry, those were yesterday. I'll just go through the list.
Reba Kendall, citizen.
Nancy Gregory, community member.
Jay McMillan, I pastor Journey Baptist Church. We have 4 kids in the district, and my wife teaches at Pickett.
Mackenzie Norton, I'm a part-time nurse, full-time mom to 4 kids, who 2 attend the district and 2 will eventually.
Don Baker, I'm board secretary.
Becky Dunn, I'm the Director of Communications for the district.
Sam Davis, Coordinator of College and Career Readiness and Family Services.
Kim Miller, board member.
Tabitha Kieser, Director of Curriculum Instruction and Assessment.
Michelle Schultz, I am the English Language Development Coordinator.
Lacey Adams, I'm the Director of Elementary Schools.
Katie Reed, Director of Secondary.
Diallo Tufal, Coordinator of Early Childhood.
Carrie Anderson, Director of Special Programs.
I'm LaTanya Williams. I'm the President of the board.
Ashley McGinnis, Superintendent.
Jennifer Kearns, board member.
We have some good people around this table, and somebody hiding behind the camera there. So that's John Morris, and he does so much work for our district. We left Lafayette, I think, last night about, what time was it, John? 6:30 with the BTAP program, so we hosted New Teacher Learning. And it's just really great to be around. Mackenzie introduced herself, but Mackenzie's a former student of mine, so it's really that full circle moment here. So I'm so thankful for your time and investment in teaching and learning in the St. Joe School District. I thought we'd start out with really what the goal is of this Academic Service Committee. And so I put together a sheet there for you. I just want to read it because I think it's going to be so critical to the work that we do in the academic leadership capacity to move instruction and student outcomes forward. And so the St. Joe School District Academic Committee meetings will serve as a space where administrators, teachers, and stakeholders can come together to align on teaching, learning, and achievement goals. And in the past, we have had these committees, and they've been early in the morning at times, and we have brought teachers to the table so you can hear the voice of the teachers, and we hope to do the same thing. I love it being at this particular time because it allows us to have that space should we need to bring in teachers to share the work that's happening directly in our classrooms. You can see the goals of the district academic committee meeting. It's really to review those and align to make decisions and get community input on that. Really, you always start with data, right? So you review data first. Where are we to guide in decision making? And that data can be in numbers or it can be in surveys. Aligning the curriculum instruction, discussing those academic priorities, like what should our priorities be? And then providing input on resources and initiatives, and then ensuring equity and consistency, and then monitoring the implementation. And we have led a lot of change in the St. Joseph School District the last 3 years, and that's where we are. We're progress monitoring those systems that we're putting in place right now. I also lead with professional commitments, and you can call them professional commitments or norms. And we start every professional learning community with these things as key pieces in the discussions that happen around the table. And so I want you to keep in mind, that students are first. We keep student learning growth and equity at the decision-making table. It's the first thing. Change causes uncomfortableness sometimes in adults, but we move forward with what is right for kids. Honor the time that we've started in on time. We keep comments concise and we follow the agreed agenda. We're present and engaged. We stay solution-oriented, so we focus on the solutions And then we own that. As a committee, we collectively gather that responsibility to support the decisions or the thinking that come from the committee. Is there anything you guys think as a committee that we need to add or change? Great. One of the key phrases in this is that the committee works to ensure equity, consistency, and coherence in academic programming while monitoring progress toward the goals outlined in our comprehensive school improvement plan. And that's where we're going to start, because that guides, that's the North Star for all the work that we do in our classrooms. What's the data telling us? And then what is outlined in the comprehensive school improvement plan to guide the work that we need to be doing. There's so many things that get thrown at us all the time in academics, but we want to remain at the heart of teaching and learning and putting students first. And that comprehensive school improvement plan allows us to do that. Is it outlined in there? And that's where I'm going to turn it over to Dr. McGinnis, because she's going to lead kind of the work and the thinking to gather some feedback from you guys on what should be included in a comprehensive school improvement plan.
All right, thank you. Good afternoon. I'm excited that you all are here. Thank you for your presence and your engagement in our district. I am going to take you through a very similar process that we did during the community focus group last month. So I am hoping that everyone was able to receive the MSIP 6 standards and indicators. I love this stuff. I hope you guys love this as much as me. And then also our APR report from 2024. Did everyone receive those emails? Just want to make sure everybody on the committee received that. So I also have PowerPoint slides printed out for you. At the end of this, let me move slides here. At the end of this, what we really want from you all is your feedback related to all of these standards and indicators. And you guys are getting close to the final piece of feedback that we're going to be receiving tomorrow. I'm hoping to get some student voice into our CSIP. But you guys will be the second to last group of this feedback process. So thank you for being here. And without further ado, I'll draw your attention to the agenda. And the first thing we are going to talk about today is educational terms. We use many acronyms in the world of education. And so I just want to make sure that you are familiar with some of those. And they're also outlined in this PowerPoint presentation. We will talk about some of the background and the timeline as far as how we got here. A big part of that was the vision forward process, which I know some of you were involved in. And then we're going to go through data that's on the APR report from last year. And then I would like to open it up for table discussions that you can have with someone next to you. And then you will provide feedback. So that's kind of the process for today. And academic services friends, please chime in when you feel like it's appropriate. But we will jump right in here with some of the most common terms that we use in education. So the first one is DESE. DESE is our Department of Elementary and Secondary Education. You'll also hear us refer to the State Department. So that is DESE that we answer to. Underneath that one, MSIP 6, that's our Missouri School Improvement Plan. That is our accreditation and accountability system that DESE uses to evaluate us. So if I can draw your attention to those MSIP 6 standards and indicators. And there are 6 main areas that are highlighted in those. So as Mrs. Studer was saying, what we need from this group in our community and all of our stakeholders is for you all to go through this and say, these are the most important things we need to focus on as a school district, okay? If you notice on the asterisk, so underneath leadership, for example, it says measured for continuous improvement report. That means that's a really important one. On our APR, which we'll hit on in just a minute, we have points broken up into 2 different categories. Okay, one of them is performance, and the other one is continuous improvement. So when you see those asterisks on there, know that that's one that's going to impact points on our APR report. Just wanted to draw that to your attention. So sometimes you'll see continuous improvement report, and then if you go and flip to the teaching and learning, you're going to see several pieces that are measured for student performance report. And that's that 70% of our APR. Okay, so there's several things in there. The next piece is our CSIP. So we have board policy that states we will have stakeholder input into our CSIP, that it should be a 5-year plan, and that our board is continuously reviewing that. This is the foundation for everything else that we do. Our facilities plan, our finance plan, our professional learning plan, everything falls back to the CSIP. This is the foundation. Let's see, and then APR. So if I can have you pull out that sheet, I want to go through that just a bit. This is the 2024 report. We hope to get the 2025 report in October. We're hearing the first week of October. I'm going to hope for the last week of October because there's usually some delays. But you can see where we were at for this year was 67.5%. And here later in the slideshow, I have some of that data on the 3-year trend. But we have not been above 70% in the last 3 years. DESE and MSBA have both indicated that needs to be an area of focus for our school district to get above 70%, which would be the accreditation mark. Now, with MSIP 6, that is a fairly new process, and so we are not at jeopardy of losing accreditation at this point in time, but it could be something in the future where we are provisionally accredited. And so we want to make sure we get above that 70% mark so that we're in the good graces with the state and serving our kids well. The first page here is that performance piece. So that is how our students are testing and performing on our statewide test for ELA, for math, for science, and for social studies. You can see where we're at for all students. And then you'll see something called student group. Does anybody know what student group means?
No, that was going to be a question I had.
Okay. Sorry, I'm a teacher at heart, so we're going to engage.
Is it a control group?
It's not a control group.
It's like all the subs, IEPs.
You are right. Good job, Rita. So it includes free and reduced lunch. It includes students with IEPs. Students from our English language development department that are receiving services, and it can also include ethnicity. So you can see comparing our student groups, and Dr. Anderson knows this from her department improvement plan, that needs to be an area of focus so that we can make sure our students in special education and English language development are getting those resources and supports that they need to be able to do their very best in the classroom. So you can see kind of all the way down, and then I want to draw your attention to graduation rate. We have an opportunity to score up to 20 points. Right now, for 2024, we received 15. We were hoping to receive 20 this upcoming year, from last year. So we should know more about that hopefully by next week. And then graduation follow-up, I like to make sure everyone knows what that entails. When students graduate and they leave us, our district and all districts have a responsibility to go back and say, what are they doing now? Are they employed? Are they at a technical school? Are they at a university? Are they in the military? And so we get points for making sure our students are doing one of those things. If they are just at home, not doing anything, not having a minimum wage job, then we are deemed for that. So I wanted to make sure that you guys were aware of that piece. You wouldn't think so once they leave and they graduate that we wouldn't be responsible, but we sure are.
So how do you find that out?
I'm sorry?
How do you find that out?
Good question. That was asked also in the focus group. Sometimes we have to lean on peers. Kids often know where other kids are, and they can say, yes, Tatum Studer is working at Culver's. We do.
She's at Missouri Western.
Yes, she is not. But we do often lean on other kids to help us confirm where other kids are at. Sometimes other parents will know. Sometimes we may look at social media to see if we can track down where these kids are at, because it is a difficult task.
Our family advocates call the ones that do not speak English and track those down.
And the first step is to make contact, and then if those phone numbers have changed or we cannot make contact, that's when we start to really just detective work, find them.
Well, that's remarkable, you have 100% from all of that.
100% of the points.
Yeah.
Yeah, so there's a percentage range there, and much like graduation rate. So if we get 92% for graduation rate or above, you get the 100% of the points. Yeah, so we're probably not tracking all 100% of those kids, but we're in that higher tier system. Okay, and then the back page, that's the continuous improvement points. So this is 30% of our APR points. Part of it is having our CSIP plan submitted to the state. It must be submitted on time. You can see there's some climate and culture surveys that we do. Dr. Davis could speak to you about ICAPS. That is an individual career and academic plan that must begin in 8th grade. And that's when we start asking kids what they want to do after high school and making sure we're getting them linked into a career path. And so that's some work that we've rehauled here recently and are trying to make that more meaningful for our kids. MSIP 6 documentation, having our financial report in, that's the ASBR piece. And then there's just some general questions, like one of them is I have to be certified, okay? And I am, so we'll have those points for that. So I just want to briefly go over that so that you know this is the 70% of the points. The main focus of where we need to be with APR is on assessments. It's on reading, it's on writing, it's on math, science, and social studies. Yes, ma'am?
I have a question. On the student groups of all those that you listed, do you have data that shows which one needs the most help?
We do. So we have something that's called performance level detail report through the state. And we can see all of those individual categories, even every ethnicity group broken down. So that helps us, and really Dr. Anderson and her team, as well as high school principals, middle school principals, elementary, be able to provide targeted interventions for those groups.
Okay, great, thanks.
Mm-hmm. Anything you want to add, Dr. Anderson?
No, that's absolutely correct.
Okay, we talked about 70% for accreditation. I'll go to the next slide here. So a little bit of background. I'm sure many of you are familiar with the Vision Forward process. Our board, our administration, we often refer back to that. But we've also moved on last year to Portrait of a Graduate. And this was a huge undertaking. Dr. Lau led, gathering feedback from all of our community members, all the business leadership, our students, our staff were involved in this. And there were plenty of surveys. Hopefully you all saw those and were able to take one. So what came out of that is the skills, the dispositions that we want our kids to have by the time they leave us, they graduate. So those 5 skills are listed there: communication, problem solving, respect, courage, and being an engaged citizen. We're really proud of those because that came directly from our community. That's what our community would like to see our kids have when they leave us. So what we did is led some engagement learning with our staff and built out what that looks like, because communication looks different at 1st grade than as a junior in high school, right? And so the academic services team, in collaboration with some of our staff, built out what's called a continuum. So they can define what communication, problem solving, courage, what that looks like in the classroom for our teachers, okay? Making it very relevant. I have to point out courage, because that was one that came from a focus group. We recognized we did not have as many individuals filling out surveys and engagement from the English Language Development Department. And so we led a focus group with our family advocates. And a big piece of that was that their children do not have courage. And I appreciate that. I see that in my own stepson, that sometimes he's just reluctant to put himself out there or to take initiative. And sometimes kids are reluctant to volunteer their thinking in the classroom. And so I appreciate that one, courage. That's having some boldness and putting yourself out there. After that process, we used all of that feedback to revamp our mission and vision. And we had surveys all about that as well. We ended with the final 2 pieces for vision and mission. And you can see them there, preparing students for a successful future and empowering every learner every day. Our values were also voted on, and the majority of folks wanted the portrait of a graduate dispositions to really emphasize those dispositions. Timeline here. Once again, Vision Forward should really be part of this timeline before 25-26, but how we started this was some work with the Board of Education. We talked in our academic services team. We talked in district leadership, trying to identify what are the meat and potatoes of what we have to focus on to move us forward, both with APR, but then we also discovered school finance was a piece as well in July. And so you can kind of see, though, that we've talked about priorities with different groups, including principals, the board. We had a community focus group just last month, and then you guys are there on September 18th. Tomorrow will be the student voice piece that I will add into that, and then we will review the final document and present that to the Board of Education at the October work session. So that's the plan for that. Data. I'm glad you all have this slide. I think this is super important. If you look on the top left, we have our graduation rate, and we have been increasing that over the last 3 years. I'm going to be very transparent and tell you that some of that is from utilizing homeschool letters. And so we have learned that a lot of other districts, when a parent is upset, or they come in and they're wanting to pull their child from our schools, and they say they're just going to homeschool, we put that as a homeschool and not a drop. Sometimes those kids return, sometimes those kids go virtual, sometimes we don't get them back. And so that's not a number I'm personally very proud of, because I know that there's some kids out there that we're missing that are falling through the cracks. But we have gone up as far as percentage goes with graduation rate. And then you can see on the right-hand side, the attendance piece. That has been an extreme challenge since COVID. Getting back into a routine of just showing up every day has been hard. It's been challenging. We are making progress. We had a little dip there in 23-24. We are still working with the prosecuting attorney's office. They have hired a diversion officer that helps us run on some of the referrals. It's just been slow moving to get back. The 24-25 year, we finally got back on the board for points. So in regards to APR, you have to be at least 80% to get any points at all for attendance. Okay? And then the bottom, so I want to stop there. I've had a lot of training over the last 3 or 4 months from Desi, from MSBA, just in my new role. And all of these entities and individuals who are experts in this field have said our 2 rocks have got to be on APR and school finance. You can see the very bottom there where we're at for APR. So we've just kind of held steady, a little bit of a dip in 22-23. We are hopeful we will be back above 70%. We don't know yet. We're really hoping that our graduation rate goes up just to 92% to where we can get 20 points rather than 15. Feels a little bit like Hungry Hungry Hippo.
And I'm going to speak to, so we do have assessment data that's been finalized and shared. We are growing as a district in student performance, and so we are hoping to capture some points there, particularly in science. And so we've seen some major gains in science. We did a restructure there, and we pushed biology just sophomore year. And then we put an internal monitoring progress in 5th grade science, where that's where the state assesses science. And science actually, the overall, was the highest of our scores at 38.1%. And I know, when you discuss proficient and advanced, and sometimes proficient and advanced isn't on grade level, I'm aware well of that. The state makes a cutoff and determines what defines proficient and advanced. But 38.1% in science grow. We grew in math. We were at 38% in math, which was a 7.9% increase there. We did some work there as well in the restructure at the secondary level, made it a little bit tighter to get into Algebra 1. You have to show competency to get into Algebra 1. You have to show that you're ready to partake in that coursework. And then we grew in our ELA. Not as much as we want, but it's still growth. It was about 2.6%, and it was 38 as well. So 38.1 in science, 38 in math, 38 in ELA, and then social studies. There's only one assessment that's given in social studies, and it's the government assessment. And we were at 36.4%. So we have been working with the government. We are actually leading professional learning tomorrow to ensure that those teachers are using high curricular materials in their coursework. So we are seeing growth. Let's see what happens in the annual performance report.
So the growth we're seeing is from in-house data or from the
It's from the assessment,
Okay.
the MAP assessment.
Okay.
And so I've been in communication with, we did do some appeal process. So math came out at I think it was 36.4 or something, and it grew 1.6% in our appeal process there, which put us at 38%. But it is a MAP assessment data that we're capturing the growth from. So we're getting our system right to monitor the instruction that's happening, not just in May. We are actually monitoring from a district level on, I call them district benchmarks, and saying what's it look like at the end of October, what's it look like in December, and then what's it look like in March. We give a very similar assessment there, which is half of what you'll see from the standards. We kind of chunk those standards according to our instructional scope and sequence. But we'll continue to monitor that. We have seen major success in that.
Is that the iReady testing, or is that different?
It is iReady. At, I will say, K3, we lead iReady. We did do a change of assessment in our schools this year. Mastery Connect will be our new assessment. We call it high school readiness in grades 3 to 8. That we ensure that our students have the readiness skills to be successful in high school. And those grades 3 to 8 are very, very important. And what was happening with iReady was it's not written on grade level. It's an adaptive test, which means if I am in 5th grade and I'm performing at 2nd grade, then I'm only going to receive 2nd grade questions, right? And so how is that's an equity piece for me. And so I want to not only show students what are on grade level assessment questions, but also teachers what are on grade level, what are our students being asked to do, and this Mastery Connect is written on grade level. So no more adaptive tests in grades 3 to 8. They will be all written on grade level.
How does the 38% translate into points? Do they have just different levels like they do with attendance?
Yes, you see that category MPI.
Yeah.
There are cutoff numbers the state determines there as well. And so that MPI you'll see is 368.2 in ELA, that first one there. The cutoff in this particular year, which was 24-25, was 380. And so that's how you reach the designation to the next category. So the state really looks at the state as a whole and then decides what's the cutoff score to be approaching on target, so forth. Great question, Jacob.
And then the bottom right, it talks about our financial reserves that we have. Many of you are probably aware of that situation, but I just want to give you some history of those numbers and really what's happened there is we've increased some employees, we've increased FTEs, but we also have a declining school enrollment. And so Dr. Hedgeworth refers to that as the death cross, and is a big piece of why we are in this position where we're at right now. So we are going through a budgeting restructuring process. Some amendments to the budget will be proposed to the board in October for their approval, and then we will adjust our budgets after they've approved them. So this last piece here, this is where I want to draw your attention to these standards. And I hope you've had an opportunity to look at these and consider which ones you think are most important for our kids and our staff to be focusing on. Because when we create our CSIP, all of these things are important, but we can't focus on all of them. And what our CSIP does for us is, much like Stacia said in the beginning, sometimes we have requests for different things. So we need to have another assistant principal at this building, or we need to have another lunchroom monitor here. It's really a problem. And so what we want to be able to do is say, is that aligned to our CSIP priorities? These are going to be the things that we need to have our financial resources all aligned to these pieces that are in this plan. Okay? So, at your little tables there, if you want to just have some conversation with which ones you think are the most important, I will tell you, we've done this process with our district leadership team, and we are heavy in priorities with teaching and learning, because that's going to impact our APR. And the other piece has been school finance. Another piece that's emerged from the focus group is facilities. I think people, our community members, have recognized that as a need to ultimately get us back to where we need to be financially. And then another piece has been recruiting and retaining high-quality staff so that we put the best teachers in front of our kids. And the last piece that's come out of this has been related to climate and culture, to make sure we're taking care of our people and having a positive learning environment for our kids and staff. So those have been the pieces that have emerged so far from all of the engagement processes that we've led. I have a Menti survey on here that I would love for you to take and rank some of these priorities. If it says 1 through 8, number 1 means that's our top priority. If that's too much for you, and if you're like me and don't like to type all that survey stuff out on my phone, I have hand paper forms that you can fill out, and I'd be glad to take those back and consider that into our process. So we've had quite a few people engaged in this process so far, but we are valuing everyone's feedback in this process. Any questions for me or Stacia or anyone else on the team? Okay, as we went through this with the focus group and people were looking at the indicators, questions would come up. What does this mean? What does an ICAP mean? And so we want to be responsive to those questions right now when you have those, because all of us in academic services, and I say that like I'm still there, but I am. So we want to be able to answer those right now with you and have this be more of an engagement piece than just us talking at you. Does that make sense? And then when you're comfortable, if you want to take your phone and put that up to the QR code, it's also on the PowerPoint slides, and then I also have paper forms here that I'm happy to hand out. And then as soon as you have all of that done, if you have any questions, please ask us. And then I think Stacia will wrap up here maybe in about 15 minutes or so and get some feedback on meeting times. But we want this to be an engagement piece. Does anybody want a paper form? Okay.
Are all the tables Missouri's like recommended when it comes to like full-time employee and staff members? Are all these tables from Missouri?
Ratios?
Yeah.
You're talking about the ratios?
Yeah.
Yes, that's from the state. Yes. Does anybody else want a paper for?
I think we got an age thing going on with paper form.
I'm the same, I promise. It's too much on the text.
As the effective teaching.
It's like teachers are making their own motion. It's like, to me, that, they do, my question is like, what do we have? Do we still have holes out there? Yeah. I don't know why Christian's not under good
A big one that I'm passionate about is the
And that could just be, also, personalities and stuff, but also I do think, I have an email, my students picking this up a lot better than I yeah.
And that's what I think with the curriculum, if we can equip our teachers with the we talk about teacher I would be frustrated if I was a teacher.
Well, yeah.
I think last 2 years before the district made graduations, be proactive. Take it more seriously.
Well, the community group.
Well, that's, exactly, like we're staff, and,
Some of the priorities.
this is how it So, it depends like what type of community within that, where they can get, resources. And I think that's,
We had them in finance.
I think that's been kind of hard.
Which is really tricky with
Right.
But you have.
Yeah, I know that.
You gotta pick and choose.
Right.
So like, systems are
No, it goes on. Yeah, there's.
you know,
Right.
where
Like,
are
where does
we
that-
investing
Like
money?
some of those things.
Yeah.
And not that I know that sounds really but I'm just curious, like you're building Oak Ridge, how many
You have to release it out to this quarter. Because we have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Ones that are good.
Yeah.
Right, for sure.
Yeah.
So
That was just my question, is like how well, when we do the reorganization, like how well are we staffed? Getting these recommended, we may not be able to deliver this. And how well will that benefit us?
I didn't see them.
Which is helpful. Yeah. Well, I think that's right.
Oh, yeah. Student teacher ratio.
Yeah.
So just MSB.
And we talked about Division 4, lowering our students. It's like more staff.
Right.
More staff.
And format
This.
Yeah.
And so, and then it's just, but is that, they pick out most of finances APR?
This is our This is called our
Oversee it, yeah.
So where is this?
So that's.
I wonder where this continuous.
We're trying to figure out where it's.
I guess.
Yes, so, okay, so the ASR.
You feel bad though, again, we're gonna do the assignments that get us a good grade. Yes, yeah. It's probably you're back in school and you're like, how much time?
No, you're good.
Yeah, I think teachers in the classroom, I think principals, like we've had 3 of our principals, the environment in our school, it's a direct line.
I agree.
Yeah. I do feel like our district is improving like the data-driven stuff. I feel like they're going to start tracking students and forecasting. They know what's going on more. And I think it's going to encourage we're now. Oh no. Yeah.
It gives independence on the area that I'm not used to all this practice.
And we're doing.
It may not be students who go to English language center, remember all of them. Any strategy for staffing.
Like the teacher is still teaching the other classes.
Right.
And I don't know how that's going to
I don't know a big initiative, but it's a balance, right? You gotta know where your kids are at, but also know that maybe kids are
I know they like algebra and
Align their practices.
they used to try to get everything up. But then some of your kids aren't. So I do, yeah, I do think it's very wise.
Or vocabulary. Break it down, understand. So they have a better idea. So we're trying to
What they agree with.
support.
We say words, separate.
Yeah, so the but I don't know.
I think they made like, so our sophomore, who's, when he does his math testing, he has vision impairment. So like his testing, he gets more time.
Yeah.
Like there's just the way that his thing can be a little different.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming like if he has that view, like some kind of So rather than sitting in a classroom, taking it down second language.
Right.
That's what makes you get.
I think it's
I guess
easy.
why sometimes we talk about like classrooms, schools, like oriented, really focusing on the classroom, whether it's curriculum or teachers or just getting the classroom right. Building out.
When they get grade level tests. So it's a combination of finding resources, giving it and then the backfill and the things that we need to learn to get to the point where we really read that all the time. But we try to do all
How these
A lot of this change, like once you have like certain states every 5 years. That would be my question, I guess, is like how much of this changes on a 5-year basis? Some of this just seems like non-negotiable.
That's so funny, because if you saw my page over there, it's very similar.
I do not.
It is so bad.
We don't do all the same lessons. We still have that same impact.
Yes.
These are
I did it one thing, and then I.
do it the same way.
What is important.
So that we're more on our side. Like you said, the same way that we're on one side or the other, it's learning differently. It's hard.
We have things that more than actually
Yeah, because we have testing out there.
right now we have it's like, we can't do business for 3 years. But choose one high school is like, well, your board of treasurer, secretary, advisement, you're going to yeah. Really?
Well,
One of them.
I don't know, I will say.
I didn't mind doing it, I just didn't want to do it myself.
Right. She's on it. Yeah.
She's it's been hard to get them. Even like my wife was saying, she's the parent of fantasy, like, and now they're just coming out with So I'm really curious, because it seemed like when I was a kid, like the school, like we're communities, and now I just feel like it's almost like breaking down. We drop the camera, pick it up, and they would be.
But that's why you're doing all the, and that's how to get to that. And that's why I try
What do you want to think about, like a big candy bar or something?
Get out. That's why we try donations. That's the same thing with actual tax dollars.
We did all school.
Either or. We have kind of a
Of course,
right now, there's some of them
we
right.
do all this work. The parents aren't getting it. You know, it's just a bunch of people working for free. So it's even on that side, I got in trouble for saying that.
No, I'm worried you're going to. Because some of mine are probably not. You know, I think the idea of this is, you is our guy.
Special programs or ELDs, I mean, all the multi-services.
One of the things we like, of course, I limited
I know, I probably handed this to you.
It's all right. Somebody wants to meet with a principal.
I think it's good though, we can see it.
right. Well, and it's,
We can't afford subs, you're gonna be half our I didn't want to get all.
No?
I think it was basic. So we're at 30% of proficiency, but how do they get these basic?
So what, I don't know, it's a very complex scale.
Oh, it's like
That the state puts in, but I can send you.
I'll never remember it.
All I remember is he was like, what's that next part of the move over?
I understand, yeah, the benchmark.
And so the 380, I'm like, what's the closest?
Yeah, I was sitting there in my head like, I get 30% to 360.
I know, you're 150.
Well, there is, it's probably some form.
It is, and not a lot of other school, it's a moving target, and even the MPI, because this number could change when the cutoff is. So that's what, it's frustrating for the school leaders. I know last year it was 380, but what's that number going to be this year?
I mean, well, obviously better scores get a higher
And
number.
that's, you know, when we were at the Jamboree, that was the one thing she asked me to focus on, was status. If you focus on status, growth will come, right? And so status means, where's that child performing on grade level? If you get more children who perform on grade level, then your growth will come in its district overall.
well, and I think this thing that you said, it's just this mastery thing, where we're not just telling the children they're doing good, we're telling them
Yes.
I understand why. We don't like, I think, great.
Culture eats strategy for selection.
They always get the trophies. We need to get rid of that.
Yeah, and I normally.
You need to start preaching perfectionism, mastery.
We'll cover that with your, I'll put that in your event.
That's what's wrong right now. We can't settle in for 38s because Tom gets something ice cream.
But I think that's a key factor. Because the fact is, my number one thing is, we gotta educate the children. I learned that from you.
Yeah, I was
You can't disagree with that.
So when you see us go up, you have to still make the number. Yeah.
And so I can see that we grew 7.9%.
But what do I mean?
Well, what is that going to transfer into us being on target? I don't know.
Well, that'll probably be a good thing for us to go. Honestly. And I'm not saying that we probably need to know.
Okay.
Remind ourselves what's the makeup of that number. Because again, it's one of these questions, what's the most important thing to do to improve our thing? Well, we need to understand that if we're going to be able to change.
The scary thing with you is anything that you don't
I know. Right.
So like, at least you know input.
First of all, thank you guys for your feedback and your time. If you haven't, make sure these sheets go to you, Dr. McGinnis, is that right? The feedback, if they didn't complete it on the
I think
meeting.
it's just Mr. Richmond. And then if you need more time on this, you can use that code on your PowerPoint slide if you need additional time to finish this up later.
Any questions about the work that was presented today?
Is it possible to get the data where we fall on the tables? So like the tables of like state recommended and minimum. Is there any way we could just get kind of where we are in terms of classroom size, you know, on average and assistant superintendent to FTE, like just those tables?
Yes.
It's just when you see a table, you're always curious, like, where are we at? And so I was just curious where we're at on each of those tables.
It's broken down by class size on that. It's just an average.
Yeah, just an average.
We're talking broken down by class or like an average?
Well, like the state recommends, you know, let's say minimum 25 kids per teacher in K through 3. So just on average, K through 3, are we at that minimum? Where are we? Yeah. It doesn't have to be super detailed with this.
No.
Anytime you see the data, the first question I always have is like, where are we on that data? And so I think there's only like 5 or 6 of them. I'm just curious where we're at.
Sure. Yes. Absolutely. We'd absolutely get through that data. And I hope to present to you guys also reading report from DESE, the performance level detail report. Now that you have looked at kind of an overview, we'll dig in our next academic service committee meeting with where we are performing achievement-wise and work with math, literacy, science, and social studies. So you can see that trend. I shared the 3-year trend with the board and ranked out by school which schools need that support.
That was helpful.
Yes, so those are key pieces that we'll lead with next month. So, and then talking about next month, I think, Donna, did we already set a next?
If this day and time works for all of you, I will just keep it on the 3rd Thursday of each month at 3 o'clock. And being the next one will be October 16th.
Sounds great. October 16th at 3 o'clock then? Does that work for everybody?
I actually have it in room 104, which is where you come in the door down there. It's closer to the door.
Are there any months we will not meet? Just because I'm gonna have to block out patient appointment slots and stuff, so.
Not that I know of.
Okay.
March, I know we could not meet for finance because it cut into spring break.
That's what I was wondering. I was like trying to think Thanksgiving break, Christmas break.
I'm looking at my calendar here. So if we met every 3rd Thursday of the month, right, that would put us at November 20th, and that would put us at December 18th. And then looking ahead, that would put us at January 22nd, February 19th, and then that March would be March 19th. And then looking at Thursday in April, the 16th there, so. All right.
If we all submit our taxes on time, we can have that be an agenda item.
Well, again, thank you guys for being here today and providing the input into the CSIP for the kind of that North Star where you think we need to grow in the St. Joe School District. Thank you.